Hi everybody and welcome to another author interview at InHouse Publishing, and joining me today is Carl Eldridge, and he is the author of Real Grammar, and today we're going to find a bit about this book, why he's done it and what he's hoping to achieve with it. So let's start off with the first one, Carl. What is Real Grammar?
Yeah, so Real Grammar is a book for students studying English as an additional language to help them understand how English works in a clear and simple way.
Makes sense. For something that's an educational resource, a textbook, what inspired you to write it?
So I've been teaching English for quite a while now, and I taught English in Japan. And a lot of students over there asked a lot of questions about, why we use different parts of speech. And it was hard for them to get the answers they were looking for. And a lot of the time they were told to just remember. Like, remember, we use this in this situation. And I don't think that's really how the language works. I think there's a reason for things, and I'd like to help students understand what those reasons are.
We spoke off camera earlier about the mud on the wall analogy. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so a lot of the time in class, students are just drilled with different grammatical structures. So just practice. And it is a lot like throwing mud against a wall a lot of the time and hoping that some of it sticks. So instead of that, I think it's better to let the students develop like a strong understanding of the language and build a solid foundation which they can then build upon and keep learning.
Makes sense. So what has the feedback been, both from a student viewpoint and an educator's viewpoint? What have they been saying about the book?
So the students first, they love it, which is fantastic, and they love grammar. They say that they're more confident with the language, they can make their own choices about what sentences to use and in what situations, and really understand why they're doing that. They're having fun doing it, and they're also learning at a quicker rate. So students tell me that they're really picking it up quickly, and as a teacher, that's pretty much what you really want to hear.
And what about the educators?
So the educators like the way it's presented in a very connected way. So it flows from one point to the next, and each new concept that's introduced builds upon what the students already understand. So allowing the students to connect the new information to what they already know makes it a lot more meaningful for them, and they can use that in their real life conversations.
Okay, so in bringing a book to life, you build relationships, and you and I have worked together for about a year now, and in that time I've got to understand why you've done your book, the reasons behind it, what you're hoping to get out of it, and fundamentally what your vision for the book is. And I have to say, when I first heard it, I was pretty inspired by it. How about you share your vision with everyone else?
Yeah, so I think English grammar has a pretty bad reputation. A lot of people tell me that English is complex and it's a difficult language to learn and all these sorts of things, but it's not. It's built upon some very simple concepts, and when you understand these concepts, you can see how the language all connects together, and it does make sense. It is logical, and there are no exceptions. So I want people to see English from that perspective and appreciate it for its beauty and its simplicity.
See, I like how you word that, mate. He's quite subtle, isn't he? Basically, you want to change people's perception of the English language. You're a bit of a game changer. Would you say that this book breaks some rules?
A lot of old grammar rules aren't really rules, in my opinion, because they don't apply all of the time. They ignore a lot of the data, and they sort of just say, well, no, don't worry about these things. They're just exceptions to the rule. But in reality, I think it's because they're not seeing the big picture. They're not really seeing how it all works. And when we can step back a little bit and we can see the underlying concept and why it's used, there are no exceptions. So I've had to rewrite a lot of explanations, actually, to make it all fit together.
Okay, that all makes sense. So tell me about the future for Real Grammar. Tell me about the future for you. What's next, mate?
So we're moving to Japan with me and my family, my wife and my daughter and coming soon daughter. I'm moving to Japan, and I want to take it back to the people there who inspired the book.
Well, it sounds like you've got a bit of an adventure ahead of you, mate, so pretty cool. But if you guys are wondering, well, hang on a minute, he's heading over to Japan. How do I get myself a copy of this book? Well, it is available in Australia as well. There are distribution options available, so check out the website at the bottom of the page, and obviously everybody internationally can get it from the same website. Carl, I want to thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you coming in and talking about Real Grammar. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ocean.
It's all good, and there's one thing I just want to mention briefly. As many of you may or may not know, the book marketing mentorship that I operate comes from a set of principles and structures that I felt were pretty sound until I did a mentorship with this fella, and he opened my eyes to another philosophy, and it actually has improved my program greatly. So I just wanted to take a few minutes and thank you, bro, for your input into that program.
No, you're welcome. Like, the principles that you had outlined were fantastic for me, and I just saw a different way of how I connected them together in my head, and I wanted to share that with you, and I'm glad you appreciate it.
Very much so. So maybe my advice is this: buy a copy of Real Grammar where you're connecting the dots there, and then look at the book marketing mentorship and connect the dots there. Thanks, mate. Cheers, guys.